going to get to a point that I was going to bring y'all in, but it's going to be a little bit of work, so I'm going to go ahead and bring y'all in now so you can enjoy it all. And of course I will fast forward time lapse through some of the portions. So here we go. So the brackets will not line up with the same exact holes, so I am going to have to go to drill my bracket, but I have figured that I might be able to use a couple of the holes already in it. They do line up properly. I just need to see about where they line up on the frame, because I don't want to drill anything on the back of the frame here that is, make sure you can see me, yeah, that is going to be too close to the existing holes. So, I've had you off video for a little while, but got a little frustrated, and I just had to go back to the drawing board and create my brackets from scratch, and that's exactly what I did, other than using the old Blackhawk frame brackets as just my shape. I got me a sheet of 6061 T6 aluminum and put the whole plate, it was a 12 by 10 plate, that I put onto my frame. And then what I did was drill it through the existing holes and mount it to the frame and laid the frame over. Then I placed the motor on it with the prop and spent quite a bit of time sort of spinning the blade and checking, spinning the blade and checking to different spots on the frame. And once I had it dialed in, I marked those spots, put my template over, and then drilled, dry fit everything back together, and everything was spot on. So then what I did was, with my handy dandy tabletop scroll saw and some metal blades, and like I do on some of my projects, I got a new toy to do this project that will help me on others. So I got me a 8-inch sanding wheel and belt as well to give me some more sanding oomph than just by hand. And in the period of a night, I got one of these cut out yesterday and painted. I've got another coat to put on it. And then there is the finished product just before getting ready to paint. But just got another coat to put on it. It's not necessarily full professional quality, but for my first work with 1/4 inch aluminum and on less than specialized tools, it turned out as good, if not much better actually, than I had hoped for, and it'll definitely do the job. So I'm going to go ahead and start painting on these, and I will get back with you because I'm not going to have my camera in here when I'm painting. And well, let's see, I'll tell you a little bit more too right now. I did get the harness back together and ready, except for the top. Got all that set. I got the new fuel line put on. I figured while I had it, my other fuel line was good, but it was going to be just a hair short, so instead of just getting one, I went ahead and updated new tie gun all the way up. And then over here on the motor, I've done some of my pre-wiring and just have them, like for my kill switch, I already have it in there and tie wrapped so it won't come off. And I just have more than I need, so they'll be much easier. I've already got my CHT guide, or gauge, and my RPM meter set up, and this is more than what I'll need for right now to get that all set. And that's more than what I'll need right now to get all that set up. I do have the wires for the starter, but since it's laying down, I don't have them on it yet. But along that, I have initial wire set up on my relay for my starter. I do have the leads for the starter as well as for the fuse, which I have over there. And this is what I'll be putting onto it, which is a Vortex. And this is what I'll be putting onto it, which is a Vortex Throttle with cruise, and has the start button as well as the activation switch right there, and has a fuel light right here, which goes with this inductive meter that will go onto the side of the tank. And what you do is you pick the fuel level that you want to be alerted to, and I'll probably put this at 1 gallon for now. But the nice thing about this is I can change it to whatever I'm going. If I'm going cross country and I know I'm going to be flying into the wind, then I can just pick it up, move it a little bit higher level so that I have more gas when this alerts me, sort of like my turnaround point. And if I'm going, that's if I'm going with the wind rather. Then if I'm going into the wind, I can bring it down a little bit. Or if I'm just staying around my LZ, I can bring it down a little bit, maybe half a gallon or less, to let me know and alert to that. But I've already got my meter 3M'd on here. I've got my wire already set up here as well. So this is literally just ready to sort of plug and play with a couple of connectors once I get the motor actually into place, but I'm not going to do that until obviously the motor is mounted, because then I have to run this. I have done a dry run with this, just as far as a dry fit, just to make sure that where it's going to go, I am going to have a long enough reach on it, and it's plenty of length on that, so I'll work with that once I get the motor and everything attached. But other than that, I've got my table of mayhem over here, and have my charger for my battery, but I think the one I got is a little bigger than what I wanted, so I'm gonna have to go get me a 3S. I was gonna try a 4S, but I either need to find a bigger pack or I need to find a smaller battery, because the 4S was a little bit bigger than I had planned for as far as these pouches, and they don't quite do right. What I'm going to do is attach these pouches, well, one of them, to the frame and put it in there, so that that'll be a little bit safer than just a little phone pouch or some that I've seen some people do. But so other than that, that's where I'm at right now, and I'll have y'all back later today when we get back from lacrosse. I've got to get my paint started on these brackets and have them ready by this evening, hopefully, and we're gonna go up to Raleigh for some lacrosse, and I'll see y'all later. So we're back, and apparently some of my video didn't record, so I missed getting the part of me putting the brackets that I built or fabricated back onto the frame. So I've just done that. I've torqued everything down, and I went over this that I also bought a couple of tubes of. It was like $7 or $8 a tube off of Amazon. It's called Cross-Check Torque Seal, and this is the same type of stuff that some of the motor manufacturers use. And what it is, it dries almost like a wax consistency, but it goes across. You put it across either from a mounting surface to a bolt, or across a nut and a bolt. And what happens is, when it dries, if that twists, it breaks, so it's very easily visible to see that that bolt or nut or screw or whatever has changed position. So when you're doing your post-flight, it's real easy to see if you've got something trying to work its way loose, and instead of having to go in and check the tightness of something, or use a marker that every time you take it off, then you've got a marker position in marker line in 30 different places. So with this, when you do have to break it to get into something, you just break that off, but you get a little toothbrush, wire brush, and that stuff, the residue will come back off. So that's one thing that I'm adding on to this. All right. wrap it around one time because of the locking lug on them. They don't give even pressure all the way around. So you can't have to put them in a X around it, and then that wrap where it crosses over, it'll give you even pressure around and lock your connection good. Something that would do this better. Maybe something in the shape of a gun that would put out heat. Maybe I'll invent that. I could call it a heat gun. Awesome. I don't know why anybody didn't think about that before. I'll have to get started on that after I finish putting this thing together. my initial burn-in, which on the Vito is approximately 2 hours. You have to do 4 cycles of running it to different RPM. And I finished that, so now it's ready to fly. I still have the different mix-in as well that you do during the run-in time, and have about 3.5 gallons of that left, because the hour of actual engine running during the run-in time did not really use up anything. Let's see here, see if I can get on here. There's the new fuel line, all the wiring. I actually have gone ahead and wired up the starter, so it runs. Tested that, and have my fuse in, have all my wires tied up. I may rerun them a little bit, but I've got slack. I've got this tied up here. That's for my kill switch, because I've heard from a few people that this has a tendency to come off. So took care of that to stop that. So this is loose here, and then loose again wires that I've got going across the engine mounts. I have loose so that they can move around with the engine without stretching or stressing them. And I've got this coming down. There's my fuse I can get access to. Back in here is actually the battery pack. Right there is the battery pack for the strobe. I may put them together eventually. And right now, see this coming down? Let's see here. I've got these wires hanging out here. And then when I put the battery into the pouch right here, I have actually a burn bag for that, and the wires go down actually inside the burn bag. So try to keep the LiPo, which I keep in its own bag here, charged, and put that onto the motor when I'm ready to go, and I'll take it back off. But eventually I will also probably take the charging stator off there just for weight, because I'm not going to use that, especially with the LiPo battery. And I think that is about all for right now. Got the carbon fiber prop, 125 centimeter, and that's the rest of the wires right in there, tied up, and it is ready. Oh, no, that's what I put the fuel gauge on as well, so that'll tell me when I get roughly to a gallon right now, but I can move it down or up a little bit from there. And what that is a light that will turn on the bottom of my throttle. So everything there, my reserve, and I'm just waiting for the time when it's not Mother's Day and not 100 degrees outside to get out in a little less thermally conditions and take this up and finish up the run-in, and y'all will be along the ride for that. So I will talk to you later. Y'all have a good one. Thanks for joining.